We've just made a remarkable discovery, a planet known as Kepler 22b located far away in the Cygnus constellation. Now, that might not sound too exciting at first. After all, space is full of planets, right? But this one is special. Kepler 22b is the first confirmed planet located within the habitable zone of its star, and that changes everything. This means it might have liquid water, and where there's water there's a chance, just a chance, that life could exist. Or perhaps one day it could even become our second home. So let's take a deeper look at this mysterious world. Discovering a new planet might seem like something out of a sci-fi movie, but in reality, it's far from easy. Most planets can't be seen directly, not even with our best space telescopes. Even powerful observatories like Hubble struggle to spot them because many stars are tiny, faint, and hidden within crowded regions of space. That's exactly what happened with Kepler 22b. The planet itself couldn't be seen directly. Instead, scientists had to use a special detection method, a clever trick of light, to even notice it was there in the first place. The method is called the transit method, and it's all about carefully watching a star over time. Astronomers take images of a star at different intervals and look for tiny dips in brightness. These small shadows could mean that something, possibly a planet, is passing in front of the star, blocking some of its light. That's how Kepler 22b was spotted. From these subtle shadows, scientists are able to figure out some critical information, like the planet's size, how far it is from its star, and most importantly, whether it's located in the zone where liquid water could exist. Now that we've gathered more data, we know that Kepler 22b shares some interesting similarities with Earth. It's one of the closest Earth-like exoplanets ever discovered, just 635 light-years away. Okay, that's still about 3 quadrillion miles, which is insanely far, but in galactic terms, it's relatively nearby. What makes it even more interesting is the type of star it orbits. The star, named Kepler 22, is a yellow dwarf just like our Sun, same size, same radius, and even a similar age, around 4 billion years old. The only big difference? It's 20% dimmer than our Sun, making it impossible to see with the naked eye. As for the planet itself, Kepler 22b is roughly 2.4 times larger than Earth. That's actually a good thing. A bigger planet means potentially more room, more resources, and possibly more surface water. Of course, everything comes with trade-offs. While we'd have more space, traveling across it would be exhausting. Imagine boarding a plane and flying for 3 days straight just to reach the next city. Still, its larger size is promising. But what about its mass? We don't know the exact number yet, but scientists estimate that Kepler 22b could be up to 36 times heavier than Earth, and that comes with some serious consequences. A planet that massive means intense gravity. If Kepler 22b really is that heavy, its surface gravity could be 6 times stronger than ours. Imagine lifting a bag of 20-pound potatoes here on Earth. Now imagine trying to lift 120 pounds of the same thing over there. That kind of gravity would make even standing up a challenge. You'd have to be incredibly muscular and strong just to move around. Everyday life would feel like weightlifting at the Olympics. Forget jogging, walking would be a full workout. You'd probably need to be a bodybuilder just to get through a normal workday. This powerful gravity wouldn't just affect humans. It would impact all life, if life exists there at all. Plants, for instance, would have a hard time growing upward. They need the freedom to stretch toward the light, but under such pressure, they might be stunted or unable to rise from the soil. Animals, if any exist, would need to be extremely muscular and compact. Imagine creatures that are low to the ground with multiple strong legs, designed to handle constant pressure. Think of a cross between a tank and a spider, not very cute but possibly efficient. It's a bizarre vision but not impossible. Now here's the thing, we don't actually know for sure how strong the gravity is. These are just educated guesses. If we're lucky, the planet might turn out to be only slightly heavier than Earth, with a gravity level we could actually adapt to. That would change the entire equation and make living there a lot more feasible. So, until we get more concrete data, it's too soon to panic or start training like astronauts. There's still hope that Kepler 22b could be a place where future generations might not just visit, but actually thrive. Another important factor is Kepler 22b's distance from its star. It's about 15% closer to its Sun than Earth is to ours. That might sound like a red flag, like it would be too hot to live there. But remember, the Kepler 22 star is cooler and dimmer than our Sun. Its surface temperature is about 10,000 degrees F, which is still scorching, but less intense than the Sun's output. Because of this balance, Kepler 22b might have Earth-like temperatures, depending on how it rotates around its star. That's the catch. We don't yet know whether it spins like Earth or has a more unusual rotation. Take Uranus, for example. It doesn't spin upright like Earth, it rotates on its side. That changes everything about its climate and weather. If Kepler 22b behaves similarly, the planet would have extreme seasonal variations. Imagine freezing winters followed by blistering hot summers. If it's tidally locked, like some exoplanets, only one side would face the star permanently. In that case, the only livable area would be a narrow zone between the burning side and the frozen side, a slim strip of twilight. Hopefully, Kepler 22b rotates more normally, giving it a balanced climate. There's one major reason for hope, though. Scientists believe Kepler 22b might be covered in a vast ocean. And oceans are incredible when it comes to climate regulation. Water acts like a natural thermostat. It absorbs heat and then releases it slowly, helping to even out temperature extremes. If Kepler 22b really has a global ocean, it could enjoy moderate, stable weather across much of its surface. Earth's oceans play the same role here. Billions of years ago, as our planet cooled, tiny puddles formed, and over time they merged into oceans, aided by the gravitational pull of our moon, creating the cradle of life we know today. So, what would temperatures be like on Kepler 22b? That depends on whether the planet has an atmosphere like Earth's. If it doesn't, the surface could be freezing, around 12 degrees F, making it a chilly place to settle. But if Kepler 22b does have a dense, Earth-like atmosphere that traps heat, the temperature could rise to a very livable 72 degrees F. That's basically room temperature. Perfect for humans, and a strong sign that this planet might be more than just a cold, distant rock. It might actually be habitable, a new Earth waiting to be explored. Time passes differently there too. A year on Kepler 22b, the time it takes to orbit its star, lasts about 290 Earth days or roughly 9 months. That's not too different from our own calendar. However, the planet has no natural satellites, which means no moonlit nights. We'd have to say goodbye to the beauty of a full moon. But on the bright side, we might be able to look up at the sky and see our sun, now just a tiny distant star, and remember the world we came from, while adjusting to a strange new one filled with unknown possibilities. And that's just about all we currently know about Kepler 22b. Unfortunately, because it's so far away and so hard to observe, there are still huge gaps in our knowledge. In fact, we're missing one of the most critical details. We don't know what kind of planet it really is. Is it rocky like Earth and Mars? Or is it a gas giant like Neptune? Or could it be something in between, a planet with a solid core but a thick atmosphere of gas? Until we figure that out, everything we've guessed about its surface and gravity remains pure speculation. But let's say it's not a gas planet. Let's say Kepler 22b is a water world, covered in a global ocean. That would actually open up some fascinating possibilities. Instead of building cities on land, we could construct underwater habitats, filter the ocean for drinking water, and develop an entirely new way of life. We might even start evolving again, adapting to live and work beneath the waves. Who knows? In a few million years, we could resemble the amphibious ancestors we once came from. Would that be progress, or would it be a full circle back to where we began? Scientists have mixed opinions about Kepler 22b. While it sits in the habitable zone and holds promise, many believe it might actually be a Neptune-like gas planet rather than a rocky one. In fact, some astronomers have gone so far as to place it in the official category of mini-Neptunes, which is a real classification for small gas giants. However, that hasn't been confirmed yet. There's still hope that Kepler 22b could turn out to be rocky like Earth. But even then, there are more unknowns to consider, like its atmosphere. Does it even have one, and if so, is it toxic or breathable? That's the big question. What kind of atmosphere does Kepler 22b really have? If it's anything like the one on Venus, we could be in trouble. Venus has an atmosphere so dense and toxic that survival on the surface would be impossible. It's more dangerous than most of our nightmares. So if Kepler 22b has a similar environment, we'd need to build underground shelters just to stay alive. And once we're underground, we'd face a whole new set of challenges, like sourcing heat in a freezing subsurface environment. Hopefully this isn't the scenario we face, but we simply won't know until more data arrives. The truth is, we still know very little about Kepler 22b. It could be a paradise, or completely uninhabitable. And the uncertainty makes things tricky, especially if we start launching people toward it based on hopeful assumptions. Imagine the embarrassment of sending astronauts there, only to discover it's a swirling ball of gas with no solid surface. That's why scientists are racing to understand it better. After all, we only know of one planet where life definitely exists: Earth. Whether it's intelligent life is still up for debate, but it's all we've got. That's why the hunt for another life-sustaining world is so relentless. Over 4,000 exoplanets have already been discovered. But here's the exciting part. NASA has actually made a list of 24 planets that might not just be Earth-like, they could be even better. These are planets that, based on current data, may offer conditions more suitable for life than Earth itself. Imagine that, not just escaping Earth's problems but upgrading to a more comfortable cosmic address. So let's take a look at some of these extraordinary candidates, starting with KOI 5715.01, a planet that may not just match Earth, but possibly beat it in terms of habitability. KOI 5715.01 orbits a star located in the Cygnus constellation. What makes this planet so special is its sun, a stable orange dwarf star. Our own sun is a yellow dwarf which has served us well, but orange dwarfs are slightly smaller and dimmer, which can actually be beneficial. They have longer lifespans, lasting 45 to 70 billion years, compared to our sun's remaining 7 to 8 billion years. That gives more time for life to emerge and evolve. So, a planet orbiting an orange dwarf not only has a longer window for life to form, but also offers more time for civilizations to develop. Now KOI 5715.01 itself is a promising candidate. It's located close enough to its star to stay warm and lies in the habitable zone, where temperatures allow liquid water to exist. The planet is about twice the size of Earth and has an average temperature of around 52 degrees Fahrenheit, just slightly cooler than Earth's 57 degrees Fahrenheit. But due to its strong gravity and thick atmosphere, it can retain heat better, making it feel warmer overall. That could mean pleasant weather, better atmospheric protection, and potentially even colorful skies. The only downside? It's 3,000 light-years away, about 18 quadrillion miles. You're going to need a packed lunch. Next on the list is KOI 3010.01, another incredible exoplanet. It orbits a star known as KOI 2010 and stands out for its near-perfect living conditions. The average surface temperature there is around 67 degrees Fahrenheit, slightly warmer than Earth. That might actually be ideal. Scientists suggest that a planet just 10 degrees warmer than Earth could be more comfortable for life, offering better biodiversity and potentially faster evolutionary progress. The radius of this planet is roughly 1.5 times that of Earth, and while we're not certain about its atmosphere's composition, early data suggests it might be similar to ours. That's hugely encouraging. Scientists also believe KOI 3010.01 has an ocean covering as much as 60% of its surface. That would make the land-to-water ratio even more balanced than Earth's. More land means more space for civilization and more natural resources, while the ocean could support rich marine ecosystems. The similarities to Earth are so striking that researchers estimate an 84% chance of finding some form of life there. Maybe not intelligent beings, but perhaps animals or microorganisms. If life does exist, it's likely adapted to stronger gravity, meaning smaller but tougher creatures. It's both adorable and slightly terrifying to imagine what might be crawling around there. Of course, as promising as these worlds sound, we're still extremely far from visiting any of them. Right now, they're just distant points of data in space, microscopic specks through a telescope lens. We don't even know what they truly look like. Still, as technology advances, maybe we'll find a way to get a closer look. One of the most promising candidates is Kepler 186f. This planet has been affectionately called Earth's cousin, because it's so similar to our world in size, orbit, and potential habitability. But while the two planets may resemble each other, there are key differences that make Kepler 186f unique. Kepler 186f orbits a red dwarf star, which is even smaller and dimmer than an orange dwarf. These stars can last for hundreds of billions of years, offering an incredibly long window for life to form. The planet itself is closer to its star than we are to the Sun, which helps offset the star's low brightness. The result is a world likely bathed in reddish light, a perpetual sunset-like glow. That could make for a surreal environment. Just picture a world where the sky is always tinged with soft red hues. For some, that's beautiful. For others, maybe a little unsettling. In terms of size, Kepler 186f is nearly identical to Earth. That's a positive sign, though scientists argue that the best planets are actually a bit bigger than Earth. A larger size means stronger gravity, which helps hold onto a thicker atmosphere. That results in more oxygen, greater heat retention, and better protection from space radiation. Sure, it might make walking tougher, but the trade-offs are worth it. Bigger planets also offer more space for life to spread out. Still, a planet the size of Earth isn't a bad thing, it's just not the absolute ideal. But Kepler 186f has more going for it. One particularly important detail is the planet's axial tilt, which appears to be very similar to Earth's. That's crucial because it allows for stable seasons and a consistent day-night cycle. Just look at Mars. While it's in the habitable zone, its erratic tilt has made its climate unstable over time. That instability likely contributed to the loss of any surface water it once had. Today Mars is dry, dusty, and desolate. Kepler 186f's stable tilt could be a game-changer. Unfortunately, like many of these exoplanets, it's far away, about 490 light-years from Earth, which is roughly 3 quadrillion miles. So for now we just watch and wait. Then we have Kepler 62e and 62f, two other superstars in the search for habitable worlds. Before Kepler 186f was discovered, these were considered the most Earth-like planets in the galaxy. They orbit a red dwarf star located in the Lyra constellation, roughly 1,200 light-years from Earth. Kepler 62e is about 1.5 times larger than Earth, while 62f is only slightly smaller. Both of these planets lie comfortably within the habitable zone of their star. In fact, 1 year on Kepler 62e lasts just 122 Earth days. That's short, but still long enough for stable environmental patterns to develop and for life to potentially thrive. What makes Kepler 62e and 62f especially fascinating is that scientists believe they are water worlds, planets either mostly or entirely covered in water. If land exists, it's probably scattered in the form of islands, much like Earth's tropical archipelagos. For some, this sounds like paradise. For others, it may trigger visions of ancient sea monsters lurking in the depths. If massive marine life exists there, it could be far larger than anything we've ever seen, thanks to the planet's higher gravity and dense ocean environments. But until we know more, it's all speculation. We're still unsure about their surface composition or density. These planets, Kepler 22b, KOI 5715.01, KOI 3010.01, Kepler 186f, Kepler 62e, and 62f, represent just a small sample of what we've found. There are thousands of other exoplanets out there that might be similar to Earth, and some of them could already be home to life. Maybe not intelligent civilizations, but life in some form. Unfortunately, they're all so far away that it's impossible to check anytime soon. Still, the fact that we're finding these worlds at all is thrilling. It gives us hope that somewhere out in the dark reaches of space, we're not alone. Someday we might visit. Until then, we'll keep searching. Imagine you're aboard a spaceship sailing through the vast emptiness of outer space. The stars stretch out around you like glittering dust, and your speed is almost unimaginable. You're traveling at 180,000 miles per second, nearly the speed of light. It's not just a thrill ride, it's a necessity. The destination lies unimaginably far away. To get there, you'll need to fly for just over 90 years. That's a lifetime, literally. So, you settle into a cryo capsule, allowing time to pass without the boredom or aging. You're on a mission to reach a mysterious exoplanet that has captured the attention of scientists worldwide. In recent years, scientists have discovered a growing list of exoplanets, worlds that lie beyond our solar system, but this particular one stands out. It's not just another distant ball of rock and gas. This planet may actually help answer one of humanity's most persistent questions. Are we alone in the universe? The planet appears as a deep, dark blue sphere, almost mesmerizing. Its name is a complex mix of letters and numbers, standard for celestial bodies, but what it lacks in simplicity, it makes up for in mystery. It's roughly the same size as Neptune and orbits a small, relatively cool red dwarf star. Now here's where it gets interesting. This planet is located just 8 times closer to its star than Earth is to the Sun. You'd think that would turn it into a volcanic hellscape, right? Not quite. Since red dwarfs are much cooler than our Sun, the surface temperature of this planet remains surprisingly moderate, similar to Earth's. And there's something even more compelling. The planet's atmosphere might be made up of water vapor, helium, or hydrogen. Scientists aren't sure yet, but they're watching closely. If water is confirmed, then even the tiniest forms of life, such as bacteria, could potentially exist there. While we might not find aliens with antennas walking around, discovering microbes would still be groundbreaking. And that's not the only reason this planet has scientists excited. If researchers can decode the makeup of its atmosphere, they'll be able to understand how such planets form around red dwarfs. That knowledge becomes another puzzle piece in the massive cosmic jigsaw that is our universe. However, even if life is discovered on this planet, we won't be able to bring it back to Earth for study. It's simply too far. Thankfully, we have another strange and much closer world that might already harbor microscopic life. Back in 2020, scientists made an unexpected discovery in the thick, toxic clouds of Venus. They detected a gas called phosphine, something you wouldn't expect to find just floating around in an alien atmosphere. Why? Because on Earth, phosphine is a byproduct of microbial life. It can be found in swamps, mud, and even inside penguins. That's right, penguins. This led to wild theories that these tuxedoed birds were actually interplanetary travelers from Venus. Of course, that's nonsense. But what isn't nonsense is how shocking it was to find phosphine on Venus, a planet considered far too hostile for any form of life as we know it. Venus's surface is a fiery wasteland, with crushing atmospheric pressure and scorching temperatures. No known life could survive there. But higher up in the atmosphere, the conditions become surprisingly less deadly. It's still harsh, but theoretically microbes could float around up there. Still, scientists aren't jumping to conclusions. There's also a geological explanation. Venus is volcanically active. Eruptions could release phosphine, mimicking the presence of life. So, while phosphine is a clue, it's far from conclusive. Even so, interest in Venus has surged, and scientists are pouring money and resources into exploring it further. But let's return to the deep unknowns of space. In just the last 2 decades, astronomers have cataloged thousands of exoplanets. Some orbit red dwarfs, others circle massive stars, and then there are the loners, planets that drift alone through the darkness, unattached to any star. And in all this exploration, we've never found another planetary system quite like our own. The planets we've found have wildly different masses, orbital paths, and atmospheric conditions. That's why we call them exoplanets. They exist outside our solar system, and they don't follow the familiar rules we're used to. Among these strange worlds, one category has sparked particular interest: the so-called super-Earths. A super-Earth is defined as a planet with a mass between 2 to 10 times that of Earth. They can be rocky, icy, or gaseous. Some might contain water, others fire or even acid. Their characteristics vary dramatically. But here's the catch: they're not necessarily super for humans. We evolved under Earth-specific conditions, so even if a super-Earth looks tempting, it doesn't mean we could live there. Many of these worlds are incredibly unstable. Their huge mass generates internal energy, leading to constant volcanic activity and frequent earthquakes. Some have storms that rage across the surface every single day. Now picture yourself back in that spaceship, heading toward one of these super-Earths. Through the window, a giant orange planet looms, swirling with fire and fury. You put on your spacesuit, ready for descent, but as your capsule gets closer, your confidence fades. The planet looks like a boiling inferno, lava bubbling across the surface. If life exists here, it must be made of something indestructible. Not exactly welcoming. You decide to turn back. The quest continues. A few light years away, another massive planet catches your eye. It appears calm, even friendly. But as you approach, you realize the temperature is unimaginably cold. On this frozen super-Earth, the temperature is so low that even molecules begin to freeze. By comparison, Antarctica feels like a beach resort. The planet is beautiful but utterly uninhabitable. Still searching, you stumble upon another promising world. It's 3 times heavier and twice the size of Earth, made up of rocks, gas, and perhaps even water. Finally, a hopeful candidate. You descend in your capsule and take your first step onto its surface. But something's wrong. Your legs feel like lead. Your chest is tight. You've suddenly become far heavier, and every movement feels like dragging a boulder uphill. The culprit is gravity. Because this super-Earth has much more mass than Earth, its gravitational pull is stronger. Your muscles simply aren't prepared. On top of that, the strong gravity stirs up intense geological activity. Earthquakes are frequent. Landslides reshape the surface regularly. Living here would require massive technological advancements. Structures would need to withstand the crushing pressure and constant motion. Worse yet, escaping this planet is incredibly difficult. The same gravity that weighs you down also traps your spaceship. It's like being caught in invisible chains. You burn through the last of your fuel just to break free of its grip. But gravity isn't picky. It doesn't just pull on you. It pulls in everything, including massive space rocks. A super-Earth with high gravity can attract asteroids passing nearby, dragging them in and turning them into devastating meteor showers. And since the gravitational force is so strong, those meteorites hit harder and faster, causing immense destruction. That's not the only risk. The immense pressure at the planet's core could eventually stop its rotation. And if the core stops moving, the magnetic field disappears. That's bad news. Magnetic fields protect planets from solar storms and cosmic radiation, which can fry electronics and mutate DNA. On Earth, Even a small disturbance in the magnetic field causes disruptions in satellite communication and affects human health. So imagine what would happen if that shield vanished entirely. The full force of radiation from space would blast the surface, making the planet inhospitable in a matter of days. Even the most promising super-Earths come with incredible risks. Conditions can change rapidly, wiping out any chance for life to take hold. That's why planets like Earth are so rare and valuable. Still, we keep exploring because each discovery adds another chapter to the story of our universe. Now consider a super-Earth where the air is so hot it can vaporize metals. The wind carries fire across the landscape, breaking down solid rock into molecules. It's more like a star than a planet. Then there's another kind, completely covered in water. No land, no mountains, just endless, turbulent ocean. Volcanoes erupt beneath the waves every hour, releasing magma that heats the depths. And because of the planet's tilt, water constantly shifts from one side to the other. This movement generates tsunamis so massive, they dwarf even the tallest peaks on Earth. Surviving here would be nearly impossible. Or picture a super-Earth where it rains diamonds or sulfuric acid. There's another one where glass blows through the air like deadly confetti. The extreme heat melts sand particles, transforming them into sharp glass shards that ride the wind at terrifying speeds. Compared to all these alien worlds, Earth truly seems like a paradise. But perhaps, out in the distant corners of the galaxy, some strange, resilient life forms are looking back at our planet. To them, Earth might seem like the hostile one, chaotic, volatile, and unforgiving. The truth is, in the vast, mysterious fabric of the cosmos, everything depends on perspective.